Hey everybody, just gonna do a fast video. I'm outside today, as you can see. It's a little cooler, but I just wanted to get this in before the sun went down. So, in my last video, I mentioned that I just released last week my Sounds with Song novel. It's my Selfhood Volume 2. I'm going to have another video where I discuss this book more in depth, and the reason I'm not going to do it in this video is because actually I'm going to order some physical copies of my books, and I'm going to show them in the video. I'm doing that mostly just for my storage reasons. I got rid of a lot of old manuscripts, like papers, and I'm going to use the books as sort of like the final versions, and it minimizes a lot of space. So I'm going to do that. So look for that video, but I have a link down below to this. So if you want to check that book out, it's the Kindle, it's $7.99 Kindle, and is it $7.99 and $8.99 for the $10.99? Sorry, $10.99 for the paperback. Like I said, when I price them, it's actually relevant to Amazon. When you have the more paper that it takes to print it, the cost goes up. Anyway, so check those out, but as I said, I'll have another video. But I just want to do one really fast. I thought I'd go back to the Enneagram. I wanted to talk about unhealthy type 9s because I've had some experience with this, and 9s, being the peacemaker, are people who, many people really like 9s, and they can be very pleasant, but they can also, though, be very hard to get motivated. And I was just going to give you some examples of some unhealthy type 9 behaviors. Okay, so like in my video I did of my disintegration at 2, I'm a type 4, so I talk about when I disintegrated to 2. I mentioned an old boyfriend of mine, and I talk about how he was when I knew him, he was just a dick, and so he was actually a 9, and I think he had a narcissistic personality disorder. I think there was something seriously wrong with him. But so I'm going to just tell you some of the things he would say was, I remember once talking to him, and one of the things he said to me was, I kid you not, he says, "When opportunity knocks, don't get up and answer the door. Wait for it to come in for itself." And he said this like he's really deep, like this was like some profound moment, and literally, but I could never imagine him being anyone who gets off the couch. And what he used to do was he had this knack of like telling people what they wanted to hear, and so it can be very frustrating when you're dealing with an unhealthy 9. You'll ask them to do something, and they'll yeah, and they'll just tell you what you want to hear. But then later, it's like, well, why didn't you do that? And they're like, I don't remember you saying that. Or you have to like distract them or do things to sort of get their attention and pull it off the TV or what's occupying them. And in that video where I talk about disintegrating to 2, I talk about how when I was in college, we were gonna meet up. And then he like never showed up, but he was the one who told me, oh yeah, let's meet up, okay. And I hear from him like 6 hours before, and then he never shows up. And this is the 90s, so I wasn't even like, he didn't even call me. I mean, there was no text messaging or anything like that back then. So I'm like left outside waiting for him to show up, which he never did. And I ended up calling his dorm room at his university, and his roommate's like, oh, he's right here. And it was just, and I was like, what is wrong with you? And so I was like, screw you, you're absolutely insane. I can't believe you just did that. So, but that just showed you how inconsiderate he was. And literally one of his excuse was, oh, I lost track of time. I don't wear a watch. I wasn't near a clock. Like, this is ridiculous. And so it was like he was just trying to say these things to hurt me. And it's like, you were the one who wanted to come by. If you didn't want to come by, just say no, but they can't. He couldn't do it. He just didn't want to deal with that. So he'd rather just do this. So then that's why it's really strange when I was years later, it was like, you know, almost 20 years later when I recontacted him when I was gone to 2, and I was just sort of like, how you doing, blah blah blah, thinking that, oh, none of that matters now, we were kids then. But in reality, it's like, you know, this guy's a dick, who cares? So also, I've noticed one of the things that 9s can do is they can also have this incessant 3 worship. Type 3s, they love type 3s because that's their integration point. So they can be very like, they worship them and idolize them sometimes. And 3s love 9s because 9s never make it about them. They always make it about the 3. And I find a lot of type 3s will have spouses who are either 2s or 9s, because that's they just need the constant attention, and a 9 is willing to do that. I've also noticed that it's not just 7s who have this FOMO stuff going on, fear of missing out. It's 9s. I've known a number of 9s who, like, I know this one particular 9 who will, like, he's like, oh, so-and-so's having a birthday party tonight, you know, but I really have a lot of stuff to do. And I said, so? He's like, I don't want to go, but I really should. And I go, so don't go. And he goes, but what if I miss out? And it's like, if you don't want to go, don't go. But he doesn't know how to really, he's a 9 with an 8 and wing, and I wouldn't say he doesn't necessarily know how to say no, but it's like really and truly he does things simply because other people are doing them, and he kind of like will fall into that pattern because if he doesn't do it, he feels like he's not going to fit in or something. And then sometimes they will they will avoid confrontation, and they'll placate things to the point where it can be very frustrating, because if you are very upset, don't expect a 9 to like get upset with you. You know, they're going to just, it can be very frustrating when you have a 9 will be like, oh, it's not a big deal. Oh, and they'll downplay what's upsetting to you. And like I've had situations where maybe someone was being a bully, or someone was not treating others fairly, and the 9 will just, oh well, you're just blowing it out of proportion, and that can be very frustrating. But likewise, this same skill can be very comforting when you are upset and frazzled, and you'll have them, they'll just say, okay, now let's calm down, let's, they can kind of talk you through it. So there's some advantages there, but they can also just, like I said, suppress it, and you might go nuts trying to think that you can get some kind of emotional reaction from them, and they're just gonna, I'm not talking to you if you're going to be shouting. Like that can be very very frustrating. Also, it's said that 9s know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want. But but they're very aware what they don't want. So what happens is you'll very often have a situation where they always use this example. I don't know if my phone is going to die, so I'm going to cut this short, but they use this example of where do you want to go to dinner? For some reason, they always use the dinner analogy with type 9. They're like, do you want to go here? No, I don't want to go there. Oh, where do you want to go to dinner? I don't care. Well, you want Mexican? Nah. You want pizza? Nah. You want hamburgers? Eh. So it's like, what do you want? I don't know. You suggest something. So they always seem to use this analogy with the type 9. But anyway, those were just some of my thoughts. I think just my frustration sometimes can be with 9s are a great audience for type 3s, and sometimes they can be so irritating when they're like, well, if you wanted to, you could be like that too. And I'm like, don't push your shit on me, okay? No, I'm not going to 9 myself out, okay? I know who I am. Anyway, do I or don't I? Anyway, that's about it. So like I said, I'm gonna have that video about the novel, and I've got the links below. I appreciate you listening, and I've had some new subscribers, and I'll keep up new topics and things like that, and I'll be in touch. So thank you for listening. I'm just going to cut this short, but I will have more soon. And have a pleasant Saturday. Bye.